We will start our session with our usual prayer. Since this is also the time of festivities in India, let us pray for the well-being of everybody. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramay, sarve bhadrani paschantu, ma kaschit dukh bhag bhavet. Now today we are going to start the topic of Maya. Now, Maya is a very fascinating subject, not only in India, but I think everywhere. I lived once in Mexico and they have a Maya civilization. And our former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao wanted some research to be done on that because they have two civilizations called Maya and Aztec. Aztec means Astik, that is a believer, like we have Astha in God and Astik. So these are the two words which are very prominent in Mexican civilization and very prominent in Indian civilization. But we will talk about that on some other occasion because there are many similarities between Mexico and India. But today's topic is Maya. What do we know by Maya? How do we understand it? It reminds me of a quote by Plato, who said once that everything that deceives may said to be enchant. The things which are enchanting us all the time, indirectly they also deceive us. For example, we read a novel. Now, novel is very enchanting. People, sometimes they spend hours without realizing the time and they're reading it constantly. But this is a total fiction. It's just uh, a form of Maya. We go and see a film, which is again a fiction. And it's very enchanting. You sit down in the theater for 3 hours and you don't know what is happening. And you, once it is over, you still expect something more. You look at a soap opera. Uh, the first soap opera I saw was in Mexico City. They had a television station called Televisa, and they used to have a lot of Spanish soap operas. So these are operas which keep you enchanted and you keep talking and you keep expecting something more spectacular to come in the next episode. And they keep you spellbound, you are completely engrossed in the process. So this is also the power of Maya to keep you spellbound, to keep you enchanted, to keep you engrossed. You get lost yourself. You are so much involved in the process. So this is what the power of Maya is. It reminds me of a story. You would remember that in Mahabharata there was a time when Pandavas were in jungle in their uh, you know 12 years of Vanvas. In that process, on one particular day, they reached the bank of a sarovar, bank of a water body, and they were feeling thirsty. So Yudhishthira asked uh, one of his younger brothers to go and bring some water from the sarovar nearby. And he went, and somebody from the tree next to the sarovar told him that, "Please wait, don't drink this water. First answer my questions, and if you drink this water without answering my question, you will be dead." But he was, very egoistic. He says, "Who is this guy who is telling me all this?" So Nakul was, or Sahadev was there. So Sahadev started taking the water. He drank some water, and as soon as he drank, he just, you know, fell unconscious on the bank of the Sarovar. This happened to all his four brothers one by one. Because of the ego, they did not want to answer the questions. They drank water and then they fell unconscious on the bank of that Sarovar. Then Yudhishthir himself came. Now, the same question was posed to Yudhishthir. So Yudhishthir said, okay, you ask me, I'll answer. So he answered many questions. One of the questions which was asked by Yaksh at that time, that what is the greatest wonder in this world? So he answered that, we see every single day people dying in front of us. Every single day we find people dying in front of us. Still we believe that we will never die. That this is the greatest wonder of this on this earth. And this is what the power of Maya is. We remain enchanted in this world so deeply that we believe that, we will not die. This is what explains the enchanting power of Maya. Now, what is the word Maya? Maya is a Sanskrit word. What does it mean? Ma means not, and Ya means that, not that. It simply means not that what you think. So it is a deception. It is not that what you are thinking. What it appears is different. What it is really is different. Now let us take the example of an ocean or a sea. We see waves on the ocean all the time. Now the waves are not apart from the ocean. They are part of the ocean. There could be no waves without the ocean. But you only see the waves all the time. You don't see the ocean, the depth of the ocean, because it is fully covered with waves. So this is the nature of Maya. The whole world is covered with Maya. And we only see those waves in our day-to-day life in this world. There's a very good quote by, it is by Ramana Maharshi, another explanation of Maya. He said that in the fire, there's no sparks are visible in the fire, but they do emanate from the fire. They do come out of the fire. Similarly, there are no waves in the water, but the waves do appear in the ocean, and they are all the time covering the ocean. So the real nature of Maya is that it keeps you under delusion. It is not that Maya does not exist. It's not an illusion. Maya is not an illusion. It gives you an illusion. It keeps you under delusion. That is the power of Maya. Now, Maya appears in a variety of forms. We have to understand. Today, we'll try to understand what it actually means, how the Maya operates in this world. First of all, we should know that Maya is a power of the Almighty. It is not. It is like uh, waves are emanating from the ocean. Similarly, Maya is emanating from the Almighty. The power is not independent of Almighty. It is His own power which is keeping us deluded. And this has been very clearly stated in several scriptures. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a conversation in which there is a reference to conversation with Vidur. Vidur was one of the, great person in terms of spiritual knowledge and scriptural knowledge, both. Once he said, and I quote that, the cause of world lies in Maya, the mysterious power of the Lord. This is the cause of the world lies in Maya, that's the mysterious power of the Lord. Apart from the Lord, it has no independent existence. This has also been confirmed by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. It has come twice in Bhagavad Gita. I think it's in chapter 4 and 18. Now, there it has been clearly said that the power of Maya is so strong that it is not easy to overcome it. That is what Lord Krishna said there. Then Svetasvatar Upanishad also talks about Maya. It tells Maya to be the force of nature. It calls the force of nature. And Brahm to be the master of Maya. This is how Svetasvatar Upanishad defines it. But the crux of everything is that Maya is not independent of the Almighty. It is the power of the Almighty which keeps us engaged in this world, which keeps us enchanted in this world. And how that works, now we will understand that with some examples one after another. First of all, if you look at the word Brahm and Brahm, they are very close to each other in terms of pronunciation. As soon as you get away from Brahm, you get into Brahm. So this is what happens. The Maya creates Brahm. It takes away from the Brahm and it creates a Brahm. So Brahm is the operative power of Maya. It comes because of what we call Agyan. It comes because of lack of knowledge, because of darkness. For example, in the night the sun is not visible, therefore everything is not visible. As if you take away the electricity, which is also a part of the sun in a way, because ultimate source of all energy is the sun. So if you take away, if there's a total darkness, you don't see anything. You don't see the buildings, you don't see the plants, you don't see the animals, you don't see any form of life existing there, because the sun is not there. Now that is Brahm. And when the sun appears in the day, you see all of them. You see the buildings, and you see the all forms of life, and you see the plants, and you see the trees. You see the vast fields with all kinds of crops. So all that is visible. It's not that they did not exist; they existed, but we got into Brahm because there was no light. Precisely the same way, if we don't have that light, that knowledge in this world, the world will appear very different than what the reality is. The reality will be hidden. It is called veil of Maya. The veil of Maya hides the reality that is visible only when you acquire knowledge. And that is why knowledge is the foundation of getting away from Maya. Now, there is a very, good example, which is, I find it extremely good example quoted in Upanishads in many places. It is an example of a serpent and a rope. You must have heard it in some stories, that when there is, in the night time when there is no light, a rope might appear as a serpent, but as soon as the light comes, you can see its rope, it's not really serpent. So this is another explanation. First explanation is that the reality is under veil. Reality is covered because there is no knowledge, because there is no light. As was the example in the night of the whole world, you do not see the world as it is because there is no light. You can't see the trees and the buildings and the plants and the fields and life forms because there is no light. So that is the first, what you call veil or power of Maya, that it puts a veil on the reality. The second is that the reality appears differently. That is the example of snake and rope. In the darkness, the rope appears like snake. It is not snake, but it appears like snake. And as soon as the light comes, you know the real nature of the rope. The rope is rope. It's not a snake. So that is the second veil of Maya, that it appears in a different way than what it is. The reality is distorted because of darkness, because of lack of knowledge, because of the veil of Maya in a different way. So that is the second way of hiding the reality. This is what Maya does. The third power I mentioned in the very beginning is the power of keeping you spellbound, keeping you enchanted. Like you go to a sportsman and talk to him about his favorite sport, maybe cricket, for example. Now he will be telling you all kinds of stories about cricket that you will feel completely enchanted. You will not think of anything else. You will be completely spellbound. This is what the Maya does. It keeps you, you know, engrossed into that process. So this is what it is, the third way of keeping you completely engrossed, keeping you away from the reality. The another way of understanding Maya is that the reality of the world is not what it appears. For example, now science also tells us that every single moment the human cells, the cells constituting our body, are undergoing change, continuous change. Every single moment we are not the same person as we were a minute ago. A minute ago I was a different person, now I am a different person. I was just looking at my photographs from my childhood in the last 2 days because we wanted to put them in some order. And I was wondering whether I was the same person as I looked when I was 15 years old. I'm not. I'm physically not. I'm mentally not. In terms of my knowledge, I'm not. I'm completely different than what it was. Similarly, it is not only the human being, a tree, a building, even the earth, they are not the same. They keep changing every single moment. And still it gives an impression that we are in the same world. You see, though things are changing constantly, nothing is stable. Science has proved it. We know it very well. But still we believe that we are in the same world. The world is stable. This is the power of Maya. It is not stable. I am not the same person as I was. My body has changed. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about my constitution, my outer layer. I am always the same, but the outer layer is constantly changing. But still, I believe I am the same. Similarly, you go around the world, you see the world is the same. You get up every morning, you find it the same. No, it gives you an impression that it is the same, but it is constantly changing. This change you realize when you, uh, for example, you meet a very young person of 20 years of age today. His perception of world is so different than your and my perception. Then you realize that there is a considerable change. The change has happened. So the change you realize, but you realize with great difficulty after a long exercise. Otherwise, you feel you are in the same world once again. Every morning you get up, you say, I'm in the same world. I'm in the same house. I'm in the same, neighborhood. But actually, everything in that neighborhood has changed. Everything in the house has changed. Everything in your family has changed. Even your son is not the same as he was yesterday. So these changes are so subtle and so minuscule that we are not able to observe them properly, and therefore we get an impression of a stable world. This is another magic of Maya. The Maya has many magics. This is another magic of Maya, that it gives you an impression of the stability despite the constant changes that are taking place not only in yourself but also in your surrounding and in the world you live in. But they do not appear to you unless you really go deeper and you think about them. So, this is another power of Maya which keeps us completely in Brahm, in delusion. And actually, this is also briefly I explained this earlier while explaining the word Jagat. The Sanskrit word Jagat, it means that gati. There's always continuous gati in the world. It's all the time changing. It's all the time undergoing transformation, and that's why it's called Jagat. And still, it gives an impression of stability. So this is very very important to understand Maya. Then go back to your night last night. I'm sure some of you must have had a dream. Now you had a dream. When you were in the dream state, you thought everything was real. You thought this is what is happening. You are a player there. Maybe you are, you know, singing some song, or maybe you are playing some music, or playing a football, or maybe you're talking to some of your friends, or something is happening in your dream. At that time, you feel it is all real. And when you wake up, oh, it was a dream. That was not real. So this is another power of Maya, that when you are inside that Maya, when you are completely engaged there, you feel it is all real. It's like getting into the film. And when you are, I remember when I saw Raja Rank Fakir, I think that was the name of the film. And I started crying. It was one of my first films I saw. And I started crying in the theater because I thought everything was real. And that's how it happens. Though it is only a play of light and sound, there's nothing else. On the screen, the light and sound keeps playing, and you get an impression this is the truth. This is what is happening. So, all these illusions in different forms, they are created by the veil of Maya. Let me summarize them one by one, and there's a very subtle difference in each one of them. When you will think about it, you will realize the subtle difference. The first is the example of rope and snake. The rope appears like snake. The rope also appears. It is there, but it gives you an illusion of a snake. That is one. The second one, you see nothing in the night, in the dark night, while everything is existent there, and you see all of that existence when the sun arises. So the whole world looks different than what it is. The reality is completely underwhelmed. That is the second illusion. The third illusion is that the world is constantly changing, including ourselves, our body. Still, it gives you an impression of stability, that the world is stable and you are living in a stable world. That is the third illusion which you get in this veil of Maya, through the veil of Maya. The fourth is that it keeps you enchanted. Like in a theater, you sit down, or in a cinema hall, you sit down, or you read a novel. It keeps you completely enchanted. It gives you, some sort of happiness, and keeps you completely deluded in that whole process. So these are some of the visible delusions which we get from the veil of Maya, from the Maya which we face, which is, constituting this, what you call, manifest part of the world. Now, This Maya appears in the form of names and forms. Names and forms are uh, actually the one which we are able to realize, which we are able to grasp through our sense organs. Things which are not in name and forms, our sense organs are not capable of grasping them. So this grasp which comes to us comes through the names and forms. And those names and forms are a constituent or a result of Maya. The Maya gives rise to them. It's exactly the same way as the waves arise in the ocean. Similarly, in the universal consciousness, these waves of the names and forms arise, which gives you the impression of the manifest world, and that world looks very real. As the waves look real in the ocean. Actually, waves are there. I'm not saying waves are not there. Waves are real, but they give an impression of the ocean, while ocean is different from the waves. Exactly the same way, the names and forms which appear in the manifest way, a manifest world, they give you the impression of the world. They give you the impression of the reality, while the reality underlying that is quite different. That universal consciousness which is underlying all the reality is very, very different. And this is the reason that I give you another quote here. This is a very interesting sentence. I don't know who has actually formed this word, but I've taken it from somewhere. Maya is unreal because it changes, and it is not unreal because it exists. So Maya is unreal because it changes. The world is not stable; it's all the time changing. So therefore, it is not real. It is unreal. But it is there. Still, it exists, and therefore, it is not completely unreal. It is real. So this is a language of paradox, but it is essential to explain Maya because Maya is very difficult to define. Maya can be explained only through examples. The whole functioning of Maya is so intricate that it is not possible to define it in a very professional way. It is possible to explain it through examples, and that is why I took several examples to explain the concept of Maya. This is only a preface to to the concept of Maya. We should know what Maya is, why the reality is appearing different than what it is. And this you will find in every single walk of our life. You go and meet a person in any institution anywhere. He appears very different, but if you go and ask his servant or his driver or his wife or his family members, they will tell you that what he appears is not same. He's really different. So even in our own behavior, we have Maya. We have so-called protocol. When somebody in front of us, we behave in a different way. We give an impression which is much more different than our real behavior. I'm not saying it is deceptive. What I'm saying is that these are two different layers of human behavior. One is the outer layer, which is meant for the outside world. One is the real behavior which you conduct yourself when you are in your own home. It's exactly the same way the Maya is different when it appears outside, but it is different in reality. The reality behind Maya is very, very different. And the reality behind Maya is actually the universal consciousness because it is the power of the Almighty, it is the power of the Brahma himself. So the Maya is just a small manifestation of the Almighty's power. And that is why Lord Krishna said that you don't need to understand me fully, because you will never understand, it's infinite. I hold this whole universe with a very small fraction of my power, and that small fraction of my power is that Maya. With that Maya, this power of Maya, he holds the whole universe. And that is what the power of Maya is. Now, why do we get completely deluded? Why do we remain engaged into Maya? And how we can overcome that process, how do we understand that process, is a subject we will have to deal with separately. But today, the whole emphasis of my talk is that Maya is has two roots. It's a duality. It appears in dual form. The real form is hidden, the appearance is different, and we are enchanted by the appearance. The appearance is all the time changing but gives an impression of stability. The appearance is different than what it appears. And this keeps you completely engrossed, it keeps you completely spellbound. It you know enchants your feelings, your thoughts, and your mind, and it keeps you uh, you keep following it. You don't get to get out of it. Now, just to explain it further, I gave you an example of a sport person, of cricketer. Let me give you an example of a person who deals with the shares, securities, and these so-called stock markets. Now, you talk to a person who works in a stock market, has some knowledge. He will give you fascinating stories how the share of this company going up, this company going down, this company is declaring bankruptcy, this company is rising, you should invest here, you should not invest there. Uh, you know, a few years ago, a person came to me and said, if you want to invest, I can help you. I said, listen, I don't want to get into that, but he was telling me all kinds of stories, how you can earn 20% here and 30% there and 50% there, and you can become richer and richer and richer and richer. So all these stories are the part of the world's Maya, the world of Maya, and they keep you enchanted. You can think of any sphere of life, you will find these stories. You go to a musician, he will tell you fantastic stories about the power of music, and you will get completely enchanted. You go to a fashion designer, he will tell you about his own fashion designing business, how he keeps people enchanted. So every single sphere in this universe, in this world where we live in, has its own field of Maya. All these spheres are, they have what you call a profound, uh, foundation of their own. And when you try to understand that foundation, you are completely lost into that, and that foundation keeps you enchanted. You go to a bird watcher. I know a person who is very good on watching the birds, and he can describe all kinds of birds. He has fascinating stories to tell about birds. I'm not saying that knowledge is not good. It's a important knowledge. You should know the things. You should know music. You should know sport. You should know birds. You should know plants and trees, and you should know seeds, how they fructify. But what I'm saying is that this is the power of Maya, which keeps you enchanted, which keeps you away from the reality. It doesn't allow you to go to the reality. That is what is important. So we have to transcend this power and go to the reality to find what the reality is behind that power. And that is what we will talk in our next session, how we transcend this power and how we can discover the reality. So I will end here today, but before I end, I'll give you one small example, which I'm sure you must have heard before. There was a group of 5 people, and they were all blind, and they were discovering an elephant. So they were taken close to an elephant. One person was holding the feet of the elephant, and he got an impression that elephant was like a pillar. The another person was, holding the tail of the elephant, and he thought it was like a rope. The elephant was like a rope. The third person was holding his ear, and he thought the elephant was like a fan, which gives you a lot of nice wind. air. Then the fourth person was holding the trunk of the elephant, and he thought that the elephant was, like a trunk. And the fifth person was holding the one side of his body, and he thought it was like a wall, strong, very sturdy wall. So each one of them was right in their own way, but all of them were wrong in in every possible way. So this all happened because of two reasons. Firstly, they were blind. Secondly, their knowledge was partial. So the two things, partial knowledge and agyan, the blindness, they are keeping us deluded in the world of Maya. Part knowledge is also very dangerous. At the same time, lack of knowledge, lack of what you call, जिसके ज्ञान चक्षु खुले नहीं है, वो, that also keeps you deluded in that Maya. So this is the power of Maya which is reflected in this world, and we are all, including myself, are getting deluded in this in some way or the other. Now, how do we overcome it? We will talk about it in the next session. Thank you very much, and if you have any question on this part, I'll be very happy to answer.